It's been a little over 1 week since the election in which Trump bested Vice President Kamala Harris. And as the nation's capital prepares for the transition in both the White House and in Congress, analysts are picking apart last week's results. One key demographic that sticks out: voters who identify as Catholic, who make up roughly 1/5 of the electorate. What many consider the bloc of, quote, Catholic voters is actually quite a diverse group comprised of those both practicing and non-practicing. Pew Research found only 28% of U.S. Catholics attend weekly Mass. 68% say they attend a few times a year or less. Only 20% of those who identify as Catholics attend Mass weekly, pray daily, and consider religion very important in their life. A majority of Catholics in the U.S. are white, but 1/3 are Hispanic, a percentage that continues to grow. This expansive group of voters can be hard to define or generalize, and it can be challenging to pinpoint nuances and break down exactly how each Catholic voted. But overall, exit polls show a majority of those Catholic-identifying voters backed Donald Trump.
And as the Catholic vote goes, so does the country.
One of the biggest religious blocs in the country, voters who identify as Catholic make up around 22% of the entire electorate. And this time around, a majority of them backed former President Donald Trump. According to VoteCast, a survey of more than 120,000 voters by the Associated Press, 54% of Catholic-identifying voters cast a ballot for Trump. 45% voted for Vice President Kamala Harris. That's an increase from what the same poll found 4 years ago, when 50% backed Trump in 2020 and 49% backed President Joe Biden. Analyzing the broad population of Catholics, practicing and non-practicing alike, who turned out for candidates, statistician Ryan Burge discussed the trends.
It's amazing how well Trump did with basically everyone. He won with older Catholics, with younger Catholics, with female Catholics, with male Catholics, with white Catholics, and he also, made it a much closer race with Hispanic Catholics as well. It was really an across-the-board win for Donald Trump.
Trump also made gains with Hispanic voters who identify as Catholic.
I think the Hispanic Catholic vote has definitely gone from being a 2-to-1 Democrat to Republican vote to a much closer to 50-50, which creates real problems for the Democrats in a lot of those swing states that tend to have a lot of Hispanic Catholics.
When speaking to students on the Catholic University of America campus, they're not surprised at voters who identified as Catholic backing Trump.
Appointing 3 pro-life justices to the Supreme Court, which led to the overturning of Roe v. Wade, I think that was another major thing.
I think that a lot of his policies and kind of what he stands for kind of aligns with the Catholic or Christian, what word am I looking for? Their traditions or their morals. So I feel like that kind of is expected.
They really care about religious freedom and a good economy and that sort of thing, and having good family values. And I think that's why they majority voted for Trump.
Burge says the plurality of Catholic-identifying voters' priorities mirrored the rest of America.
Catholic voters seem like they were concerned with the economy most, which is what most voters were concerned with. And immigration comes in a close second. I think that's one of the reasons we saw such a wide swath of voters move towards the Republican side this time.
On some moral issues, Trump put his campaign at odds with church teaching. He voiced his support for in vitro fertilization, a fertility procedure that the Catholic Church teaches is morally impermissible, to which then candidate Donald Trump had not considered religious exemptions. And to the dismay of many pro-life advocates, he softened his stance on abortion, arguing it was now up to the states. Dr. Kenneth Craycraft, practicing attorney and moral theology professor, thinks that middle approach earned Trump some votes, even among those who support legal abortion.
I also think that what we saw in the election is that a majority of the voting public do not want the extreme abortion agenda that Kamala Harris was advocating for and campaigning on in this campaign.
He points to one moment just weeks before the election, when Harris spoke about religious exemptions for abortion in an interview with NBC News.
What concessions would be on the table? Religious exemptions, for example? Is that something that you would consider?
I don't think we should be making concessions when we're talking about a fundamental freedom to make decisions about your own body.
I think that lost a lot of people. If she had answered that question differently, I think it would have changed things.
Craycraft says Trump's focus on transgender ideology, especially toward the end of the election cycle with a targeted ad campaign, set him apart from the Democratic ticket.
I really don't think that many Catholic voters realized just how radical the transgender ideology is and how much damage it has been doing to young people, especially in the U.S. And I really think that that resonated with Catholic voters in such a way that it motivated Catholic voters to vote for Donald Trump instead of Kamala Harris.
So the question remains, what part did this voting bloc play in Trump's electoral sweep? With much more post-election analysis to be done, the answer remains to be seen.
But I do think that the Catholic vote was more instrumental in this election than perhaps even I thought it would be. I think that the issues of abortion, the issue and transgender ideology and similar issues motivated the Catholic vote in a way that perhaps I was even surprised by. So I think Catholics had a strong role in the outcome of this election.